Hello and welcome to the Fit for Business and Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network, improving the performance and transforming busy or overweight professionals, business owners and consultants along with their teams to become fitter, happier and more confident. The Fit for Business and Life podcast is all about sharing passion, knowledge and expertise around business and personal performance from our hosts, myself, Martin Sharp, a 30-year change maker in businesses large and small, along with some special guests sharing their know-how and experience in making changes in business and themselves, featuring inspirational stories, insights, tips and practical knowledge, bringing more healthier, happier and high achievement to your world. So why not follow this podcast? We're live on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Amazon Music. If you're watching on YouTube, then hit that subscribe button and drop us a like. We'd very much appreciate your support. Now sit back and enjoy this episode of the Fit for Business and Life podcast, brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Buddy Network. And today, I've got a very special guest. This gentleman I have known for many, many years. He has been instrumental in making my business work the way it is. This chap is Mark Overend. He's a chartered tax advisor, qualified and the head of tax and payroll at Ascentis in West Yorkshire. Now, Mark is passionate about helping small business owners systemise, automate, especially in that kind of finance function to help reduce the potential for errors and stress, along with streamlining processes inside business. And at Ascentis, they truly believe that there is a better way, a more successful and enjoyable way of running a business. I know, I've experienced it. And their passion is to help people find a better way and achieve their personal vision for success inside their organisations. So please welcome Mark Overend. Mark!
Hi, Martin.
Welcome. So it's absolutely fantastic to have you here. Now, the interesting thing is, that is a great introduction. The bit that kind of misses out is actually how much of a keen runner you are.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, massive keen runner. Yeah, been doing it. I started at school, doing cross country at school. And running's been, a huge part of my life since then, really.
Absolutely. And I remember when we were chatting back in February last year, after I come back from Japan doing the snow sculpting, and I said, I think I'd done my first 1K run. And we were having a conversation about the business and what was going on there. And I said, I've got to get myself into a plan. I've got to get into a rhythm, because doing this for Sarah, right? And kind of helping her out to be able to achieve her goal of doing the York 10K, which was a 10K run. And your advice to me at the time was, go join Parkrun, you'll enjoy it.
Yeah, I mean, I found Parkrun many years ago, and I think Parkrun is a brilliant thing for many reasons. The community aspect of Parkrun is brilliant. The togetherness, the camaraderie that goes on at Parkrun. They always say it's a run, not a race. So it's there for everybody. It's not intimidating as some running events can be. It really is very inclusive, and it's a great way to get you started in running. It's a 5K run, so it's should generally be achievable for most people with any sort of running fitness. And for those who've never done any running before, if they're undertaking something like a Couch to 5K program, it's a great kind of thing to try and aspire to achieve once they've gone through that program. Often a Couch to 5K runners will try and target being able to complete a park run at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's pretty much where I was. I remember the first one I went to, which was in York, and got there. I think at that stage, I'd done about 2 kilometres running. So I was running around the York track, and it wasn't fully running. It was like a run walk all the way around it, and got to the end of it, and I'm not exaggerating. I think it must have taken me 40 odd minutes to get round. We got to the car. It must have taken me another 20 odd minutes to actually be able to start the car and drive. My legs were like jelly, and I think I was cursing your name at this point in time. It was like, this is not fun. So. But I mean, since then, it has become just part of our lives. And I'm so grateful you kind of introduced me and Sarah to that event, because it has just been, it's like you say, it's a really nice environment, lots and lots of friendly people. In fact, I even bumped into an old friend of mine, Stephen Wilson, who I used to work with back in 2004. 2004, well, literally before I set up my business, so 2004 to 2009. And he was a really avid runner, so it was really nice to reconnect with him at Parkrun. So you're right, there's some amazing people there.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, the local run that I go to, the Lister Park run in Bradford, I'm very fortunate that my old school cross-country coach, he volunteers at that one. Talking of amazing achievements, he recently celebrated his 500th volunteer at that park run. He's at the same corner. He's got his own corner, Tony's Corner, it's called. And so, you know, to volunteer 500 times at an event is I think an amazing achievement. And there's people that like that at most of the events. You know, the volunteers give their time for free, and they're always very encouraging. And yeah, you know, you're right. I've reconnected with a number of people inadvertently over the years. And it's amazing who you find and where you find them. I went to visit my father-in-law up in Scotland and did the Kirkcaldy Parkrun, and I had my Baildon Runners top on when I was there. One of the first things that happened to me was some chap came up to me and said, "Oh, are you from Baildon?" Because I'm from Shipley, which is the next village to Baildon, for anyone who doesn't know Baildon very well. So, you know, all the way up in Scotland from Yorkshire, you bump into someone from the town next door. It's amazing. I love Parkrun. It's a great way to start the weekend. Gets me out of bed on a Saturday morning. Really sets me up for the weekend. You know, really makes me feel good and energized for the weekend ahead.
Absolutely. And I think that I find really interesting because, as you know, the previous 5 years I'd lost a lot of weight through doing a lot of the strength and conditioning training, which really was being a godsend. It kind of made a massive difference in my life. But I hadn't really concentrated too much on endurance work. So kind of flicking the switch over to doing running, I've been quite surprised actually at how much better you feel afterwards. It's kind of not just an in the moment feeling where actually going out for a run you feel great, you kind of got the endorphins running, but actually it lasts for the rest of the day. So you kind of have that nice reset. It kind of sets you up. So some people, when they say actually, you know, going running when you feel tired, it's sure it's going to make you feel more tired, but actually I found the opposite. I go running now and I feel more energized.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I always feel much more energized. There have been occasions where, you know, immediately after a run, a bit like you said, after your first park run, you don't necessarily feel it if you really push yourself very hard. It takes a little while to recover, but as soon as you've recovered, then yeah, the overriding feeling is always positive. It always sets me up for things. And you know, you talk about endurance. I've you know, taking Parkrun to the next level. I've moved towards marathon running and training for a marathon. There's something known as the Parkrun sandwich, which is run to your parkrun, do the parkrun and run back, which, you know, because parkrun is for a marathon runner only 5k being quite short compared to the 42 that you've got to do to complete a marathon. So running there and back adds some added, you know, some extra mileage that's much needed, and also, you know, it's good for the environment because you're not driving to the parkrun, you're actually running there. So all sorts of benefits to parkrun and lots of different ways to use it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the other kind of funny thing because through my journey, obviously we went on to do the 3 marathons afterwards, completely by accident. But you were there at the London Marathon as well, and I remember you telling me about the Parkrun sandwich because that was one of the techniques I picked up to again try to increase the amount of mileage I was doing in preparation for the marathon. So I would be running to the marathon. Sarah would cycle, and then we'd do the Parkrun. And Sarah would cycle, and then she'd cycle back, and I'd run back. And I remember because that was the first time I'd done 16 kilometers, 10 miles, and I thought that was just absolutely fantastic. And it just felt like each week was almost like hitting a new milestone. Yeah,
I mean, training for a marathon is something I've only recently started undertaking marathons. I did my first one in April 2024. So training for that was something different, and it's amazing. You know, suddenly having to run the longer distances is very difficult to start with, very challenging. Getting your body to run just for such a long period of time and over such a long distance. But as you start to tick those longer distances off, and you go from thinking I could never run that far to suddenly realizing that you can run that far. And then for me, how fast can you run that far? Because that's how my brain likes to work with running, is never quite satisfied with just doing the distance. I like to push myself to see how fast I can do it as well. You know, if you'd have told me maybe 3 years ago that I'd be trying to work out how to run a marathon under 3 hours 30, I would have just laughed at you and said, well, I wouldn't even run a marathon, so why would I do that? But that is now, what I'm trying to do. And it's amazing when you go out for the longer runs, where you can go and what you can see. That's part of the enjoyment for me for running, is I do like to be outside and moving around and running through places that I think actually I didn't really think I should be able to run that far, but I can.
Yeah, we kind of met up at the Shevin Parkrun the other week as well. And I think you came in 8th, I think, as well. So you have got a turn of speed. So
I'm okay. Yeah, I'm not too bad for my, my Parkrun age grading suggests it says 70% usually, roughly around there. So that's, I guess there's more, and you can always find people who are better than you, can't you? But yeah, I'm okay, not too bad.
Always, but it's part of just the enjoyment, isn't it? Just getting out there and doing it. Yeah, because I know my next target, we've got the October Yorkshire Marathon coming up. So my plan is I want to try and get sub 5 hours. So if I can do that, I'll be happy. My Strava is currently telling me with my performance of late, I should be able to do a 4:20, maybe a 4:40, depending on the day. Yeah. So we'll see if it lands true. But we'll see if your 3:30 goes okay as well.
Oh, well, I should be there with you. I actually need to enter the York Marathon yet. I haven't got around to doing that. But yeah, I'm hoping to be there as well. I did it last year. I think you did the 10 mile last year, didn't you? You did the York 10 mile, which is on the same day.
Yeah.
Partly the same course, obviously not the full same course, but there was overlap. But it's York is very different to something like London, where London is, one of the biggest marathons, I guess, in the world, in terms of spectator interaction. There, London Marathon, there is no part of the course that isn't lined with spectators, and there's huge numbers of people running it. York is a little bit smaller as a marathon. There's less runners, but you don't tend to get left by yourself. But the spectators are a little bit thinner. You're running in the lovely York countryside, but not so many people watching you. Sometimes you're running, it's just the cows in the fields that are watching you. So it's a slightly different experience. Not any worse, but it is a different environment to run in. Certainly enjoyed it last year, although there was a period of rather cold driving rain. I don't know if you got that on the 10 mile race, but
we did.
I was slightly questioning my life choices for a period of time. It was mid-marathon, where it's always quite tough anyway from a mental perspective. The driving rain wasn't really helping at that moment.
Yeah, I can appreciate that. When I'd finished doing the 3 marathons, I finished on the lead one and kind of met up with the family. And what's become a bit of a tradition is actually going out for a pizza with friends afterwards. So I went with a pizza with family. I went to Franco's in Thorpe Park, which is a place we go many times. And the chap who owns it, his son, was a pro runner, which we've got chatting with him about. So I said I've entered the Yorkshire Marathon, and he said you'll really enjoy it. He says one of the things a lot of pro runners like about the Yorkshire Marathon is it's really flat, so it's really easy to get a personal best in comparison to most other marathons. And also, it says the one thing is it's later in the year, so it's usually cooler, so you kind of get the double effect, so you can actually run better with it not being so hot. So I'm kind of hoping these things are counting in our favour here.
Although having done the York Marathon, it isn't quite as flat as you might think it should be. There's a bit of the course where you run out and back, that you're running down a hill and run back up a hill, and it's definitely a hill. There's definitely a slope in it, but you're quite sensitive when you're running a marathon to gradients, of course. And there's also at the start you run down a slight slope. Well, because you're at the start of a run, it feels like you run down a slight slope. You have to finish up that slight slope, and it's like a mountain at the end. It's a horrible finish. I don't know who thought that. I mean, they were clearly not. Well, they're either a sadistic marathon runner or they're not a runner. Whoever came up with that finish.
Yeah, well, that's all. That stops and starts in the middle of the York University, so I can imagine it'd be a difficult one not to do that, because it's just on the hill, isn't it? So and it's not a big hill. I mean, it is York. I mean, York is almost like Holland, isn't it? It's flat. So
yeah. Like I say, it's all relative. It's a bit like I don't know if you've ever done the Leeds Abbey Dash, which is a 10k run from the Leeds city centre out to Kirkstall Abbey and then back. And they run you up there. If you ever drive into Leeds, there's a slight incline as you drive into Leeds on the ring road, which you don't really notice in a car. If you're trying to flat out run a 10-kilometer road race to try and get a PB. This hill is, again, it's like, who's put a mountain at the end of this race?
We haven't done that, but we've got it in the diary for the 30th of November this year, so that should be quite good.
Yeah, it's usually back end of the year. Yeah.
So Sarah and I think about doing that, and we're trying to keep a number of smaller races in there as well. So we've got the Sheffield 10K on the 28th of September when I get back from Killy, and then we've got the 30th of November. We're going to do the Abbey Dash. We've got to apply for that one yet. We're not put our application in, so that's you're not alone on that. But coming back to London, London was hot. Really hot, and I remember everyone saying about there's a slight incline as you get towards the Cutty Sark as well, going through Greenwich. So I remember everyone telling me about that before we hit there. But you kind of ended up with a bit of an injury, didn't you, as you were going around London this year?
Did, yes. So I suppose that was caused in my enthusiasm for the great thing about marathon training is that if you run any other distances, your times for other distances will improve on the back of all the training that you've got to do for a marathon, even if you're not training specifically for any other distance. And as someone who's I quite like to chip my times down. I'm an accountant in the day, so I like numbers. I like knocking my times down. Adds to the excitement for me personally. I like to challenge myself to see how quick I can get. And in the run up to the London Marathon in April, I entered a fell racing championship, which is there's 3 races called the Bunny Runs up in Haworth. Very short, sharp runs, very hilly terrain, all off road, but just short of 3 miles in distance. And at the same time, Baildon runners who I run with were having an unofficial Parkrun championship where we get pulled out of a hat against another runner, and over 3 weeks you see who gets the best age graded percentage, and it's like a knockout competition. So I was feeling quite fit, pushing myself quite hard in training for a number of months, and I came into the sort of March Easter period, early April, just before I needed to taper. I thought I'll do these fell races and see how I'm getting on, and I did pretty well. I finished 3rd in my age category over the series in the fell racing championship. And that feeling of smugness that you get from achieving something was tempered by the fact that as I finished the last race, I felt my hamstring tighten in a way that I recognised as something that wouldn't be going away in the next day. And I was a little bit worried about how I was going to get on at the London Marathon. I rested, desperately did everything I could. Googling hamstring, I don't know what it was, probably a strain, I guess. I'm not good on the medical side of things, but turned up to London, fingers crossed, got to 16 miles and felt a feeling I've had unfortunately before with a hamstring, where it kind of makes a little popping feeling in your leg, and followed by quite a sharp pain that doesn't go away. And I stopped because I knew that I'd just hurt my hamstring quite severely. And so found myself, I think, I can't remember where 16 miles is, but in the middle of the London Marathon course, being passed by a lot of runners, people shouting at me, "Come on, you can still do it. You can," because they don't realise you've just pulled your hamstring or whatever you've done. They thought I was just tired, I think. So their encouragement was great, but I was a bit concerned that I've done my hamstring before. I did it once on a track session at speed and couldn't walk for several weeks. But fortunately, running a marathon, you're not running at full speed, so I didn't damage my hamstring to the point where I couldn't walk. So I was walking, trying to work out what I was going to do. Usually when I've been at races in the past and I've injured myself, it's pull out, find your family and go home, and then recuperate. But in the middle of the London Marathon course, didn't really know where I was in London, but you can't get out of it anyway. And I didn't have any means of getting back to the finish regardless. I didn't have any money or my wallet on me, because you're running a marathon, you try and be light as possible. So I thought, well, I'm going to have to walk back. And the prospect of walking 10 miles is not anywhere near as interesting to me as running 10 miles. So I was at the time obviously quite tired as well and full of adrenaline and all sorts of things. So I thought I'd give jogging a try. And I did manage to jog back at a vague pace. But it was disappointing in the first moment. I was actually trying to run a specific time for London, which obviously went straight out the window. I couldn't do that. So then I just re-challenged myself to try and just finish the London Marathon. And as I was running, I was able to jog. I thought, well, I was trying to do the math and worked out I could actually still do it in just under 4 hours. So I did, kind of kept me going on that, just kept an eye on my time. And at any point I tried to push myself too hard, my hamstring reminded me that wasn't going to be happening today. It's quite painful. But yeah, I managed to get around, managed to finish in 3 hours 53, I think it was. And so, yeah, a bit of a different experience for me for a marathon. Usually I'm trying to, the first one I was just trying to finish. The second one I was trying to get a time. That was my third marathon. I was after a time, but ended up, back to let's just try and finish, but try and finish at, at any cost at all, really. And yeah, it was probably, yeah, you're right. It was very hot that day. So perhaps trying to run for a time would have been even more painful in the latter stages. Jogging along with my hamstring injury, I was passing people who had flaked out the side of the road. They would, obviously pushed too hard and dehydrated to the point where they couldn't continue. So, yeah, maybe my hamstring did me a favour that day, actually.
Yeah, so that sounds like it might have been a benefit, because at 10 miles out, you will have been in the middle of Canary Wharf, because halfway was the other side of Tower Bridge, wasn't it?
Yes.
And I remember as we kind of went through over Tower Bridge, I felt absolutely fantastic. You kind of then take that right turn as if you're going down to, is it Limehouse Tunnel? And it just, I don't know about you, but it felt like someone had opened the oven door on Christmas. It's like this wall of heat kind of hitting you and thinking, oh my God. And it was just the reflection of it all in such a contained space. I was just so glad about the fire brigade being there. But you still made a better time than I did. I was 5 hours and 20. So 3 hours 53 is a pretty good time. I'd be happy with that one.
Yeah, well, it was one of the things I was saying to myself as I was trying to finish. Quite a lot of people would be happy with a sub 4 hour marathon anyway. So yeah, just keep going. And it's not. Your immediate thoughts are not very positive. But if you're going to finish a marathon and run 10 miles after having already run 16 miles, you need to find some positivity in there. Otherwise, it's not going to go well.
Yeah. I remember it was just after I'd done the Shevin Hill on my way towards Meanwood on the Leeds Marathon. That just hit me. I mean, that was the last of the three, and the cumulative kind of fatigue by that stage. I was not in a good way. I think it was definite willpower got me over the line on that last one. And I met one of my mentees, one of the people I train, on the way around just before I got to Headingley, and he shouted over, said, "Hi, mine," kind of thing. I went over to him and I just gave him a big hug. And he says, "How are you feeling?" I said, "Dreadful." He says, "Don't worry, you can still do it. Just get on, mate. Get on, out there." And it's amazing because sometimes just having that encouragement of people around you, like you were saying with the crowds and things, it is absolutely electric.
Yeah, and I think I often find that most of the marathons have paces in them, and I think they're often quite good people to be run around if you can. A lot of the big marathons set you off in waves, so it's a little bit of the luck of the draw if you get put in a wave that has the paces in it or not. But the paces are, they're phenomenal people. They run marathons, it seems, all the time. And whatever time they're running, they can clearly run a lot faster because they have the capacity to tell you basically a running commentary of the course and how things are going throughout the marathon while you're kind of thinking in your head, I think I'm about to fall over and die. But they're very encouraging as well. They're great to be around, and usually you get kind of a bit of a group of people who'll sit around a pacer, which helps as well. That camaraderie. And actually, that's one of the good things about the York Marathon is there's a couple of places where you do quite big long out and backs. So when I did it last year, there was a few guys from Baildon Runners running the event, and so that we sort of shouted at each other across as we were doing the out and back. You just kind of look out for the Baildon Runners vest. Makes it easier to pick people out, and that was quite nice to be able to do that, and also quite a nice distraction to be looking for people who you might know while you're running. It's quite a nice way to just take your mind off things a little bit for a short period of time. There's however quickly you run a marathon, it's always going to be a long time. Definitely,
and it's interesting to say about the camaraderie, because that camaraderie is it crosses so many different boundaries. So, for example, we've talked about the bailed and runners there, but yet we're doing it as well in the relationship we've got in the business relationship. You also, for example, with Lee, who works with you as well. There's a lot of camaraderie between the two of you there, and competition when it comes down to running.
Yeah, I mean, the competition's slightly one-sided because Lee is definitely a better runner than I am in terms of speed. But yeah, he got me. He's a bailed and runner as well. He got me to join bailed and runners. It's very much, in terms of, it's something we do talk about a lot is running. We train together. So Lee and I will sometimes, we both coincidentally live in Baildon. It's not a requirement for working at Ascentis, but we do sometimes run home from work together. Which is great. Otherwise most people, if they want to train from work, they generally end up doing it by themselves, especially smaller businesses that we all work in. But yeah, it's great for me and Lee to be able to do that. Just message each other the night before or whatever. And very lucky where we live as well. There's actually multiple routes for us to go home, so we can either run on the road, which tends to be a kind of a bit of a tempo run if you do any training, or we can run up over the moors. So that tends to be stick some trail shoes on and go up a very steep hill. And then run on some not very flat paths. Try not to turn your ankle and then run down a hill at the other side. But different types of training, different types of running. Running up over the moors on Ilkley Moor. That's not one that we do in winter because it's dark, but it's a nice summer run as long as it's not too hot. Very lucky to. And we've actually got a couple more runners. We've Laura, who's one of our accounts managers. She has started doing Parkrun as well. I'm not sure how much of it was our encouragement. We do encourage people to do running and Parkrun. I think Laura decided to do Couch to 5K, and then we've kind of not pushed her into, but our encouragement has ended up she does Parkrun. We've just hired a new graduate recently, Finn, and he's a keen runner as well, and he does Parkrun as well. So there was myself, Lee, and Finn at Lister Park Parkrun a few weeks ago. We managed to get 3 out of the top 10 places between the three of us, so we were quite chuffed with that. That Lee obviously being the highest placed.
I love that. And again, it just shows that great camaraderie that kind of comes from it. And for anybody who's listening, just when we talk about these hills, when we talk about things like Ilkley Moor, when we talk about things like Haworth, these are near vertical in places. They are very steep hills. These are not small hills. Yeah, absolutely. Ilkley Moor, there is actually a fell race called Ilkley Incline, where you basically just run up a hill. So to put, if you're putting a race on that just runs up a hill, it's not a short hill. The Ilkley Moor, I can run home up over Ilkley Moor. I think it's 3 kilometres from the bottom of Ilkley to the top of the moor, and there isn't really a flat part of it as you're running up. That's to get right to the top and run over down into Riddlesden on the other, is the village on the other side. You run down the other side and then get onto the canal and run back on the canal, which is flat. But yeah, they are significant inclines, significant hills. You don't run up them quickly. Great training though. Yeah, absolutely. Some good hill training. And again, that's great marathon training, really, because it's kind of helping with speed work and things. So loads of great benefits from it. But also we kind of talked about how we bring in the camaraderie from the team perspective, but there's so many other kind of benefits, again, from the business perspective, because it's things like, performance improves, your clarity of thinking improves, having that time where you're doing something that's not work. That's just a great way of being able to create focus and energy. But also then going through some of those kind of darker moments, like, for example, when you had your injury at the marathon, or when you have twisted your ankle, or various other things, it's that grit and determination, and that's equally as important when it comes down to running a great business, because it isn't all rainbows and unicorns. Absolutely.
I think running really is great foundation life skill. The mind set that you need, you're right, the resilience that you need when you're running to not give up sometimes and to keep going applies to business, all aspects of life, really. It helps you to train your mind to overcome the challenges and to believe that you can do things that perhaps you thought you couldn't, and to keep going through, as you say, difficult times, difficult periods. There are times when you're training for, say, a marathon or any aspect of running where you get up and it's dark, it's raining, it's cold, you don't want to do it. A bit like and there's times like that in the business. You don't want to get out of bed in the morning because you've got to go into the office and there's things you don't want to do. And to get up and do it, and to get out there and motivate yourself, and to have that discipline to keep doing it on a regular basis. I think it creates a very healthy mental environment for you to apply to all aspects of your life, really.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, that camaraderie is so important. And I've benefited from that over the last, me and Sarah and the rest of our business from the last 16 years working with you guys. So it is definitely appreciated how it kind of crosses over, and it works. It works really well. So if anybody wanted to get in touch with you to learn more about Ascentis, what you guys do, how you guys work together, etc., what's the best way of contacting you?
Well, if you wanted to learn more about Ascentis, obviously we've got a website, ascentisllp.co.uk. There's contact forms on the website. If you're interested in just contacting us directly, email mark.overend@ascentisllp.co.uk. If you're a runner, I'm on Strava. Probably not great to contact me about business on Strava. I think Strava does actually have a messaging app now, but I'm on LinkedIn if it's more business related. Just all the usual channels, really, all those sorts of things. All my contact details are online on the website if anybody wants to get in touch.
Perfect. We'll pop them in the description anyway. But just another thank you, really, for joining us and talking a little bit more about running and experience. And again, it just shows where encouragement can come from. Sometimes it's not always as obvious as you might think. So again, thank you for the help and assistance in my running journey. It really has been appreciated. And thank you all for listening, as always, taking the time out of your day to listen to this episode of the Fit for Business and Life podcast. The Fit for Business Life podcast is brought to you in partnership with Sharp Fit for Life and the Business Body Network, helping busy professionals and their teams become healthier, happier, and more higher achieving in business and in life. If you'd like to join us or get in touch, just simply to know more about the topic we've been talking about, then we'd love to hear from you. Just simply email hello@sharpfitforlife.com. Once again, thank you for listening to the Fit for Business Life podcast. Fit for Business Life podcast is produced and presented by Wax Tie Limited. Copyright is applied.